So there she is, coming for breakfast. It's usually just a once a day, either in the morning for breakfast or right at sundown. Boy, how I enjoy seeing her. The baby squirrel. All right, I'm going to talk about a little bit about companion planting and improvising. I've been saying, I gotta go for tomato stakes, I gotta go for supplies. And then I said, well, I'm gonna pretend that I can't get there. And what would I do? So I'm gonna test it for the remainder of the season, and maybe down the line intentionally plant dinosaur kale spaced for tomato plant support. And a lot of what I hear, and I did it one year, was actually use the corn stalks for pole beans. So the reasons for companion planting are similar soil conditions, for pollination, and for things like ground cover and support systems. So I went into the woods and gathered some of the cores of the pine trees that had been downed, and they're really dense, and all of the softer wood material has rotted away and left this core. And I also hear that they make great torches. So I had some discipline problems with the children that come visit next door, and they've actually are starting to do some damage on the property, pulling plants out by the roots and throwing trash over, threatened to eat baby. Real sweet children. I treated them really nice too, teaching them about gardening and giving them supplies and whatnot. And just when I told them, their behavior and disrespect is unacceptable, then they started getting really ornery. So I put the last remaining piece of chicken wire right here where they could really have quick access. And lo and behold, the lychee tomatoes that they tore out, I soaked them in water for a little while and then put them in yesterday, and they're coming back. But they destroyed 3 of my Hopi squash up here. Okay, anyway, I've been going crazy on the squash flower quesadilla, squash flower soup, a souffle, a quiche, and this is now very nicely kicking out a good ratio of male and female flowers. So I'm doing the hand pollination and then taking the male flowers, leaving the females to develop the squash. And I went ahead and sowed some Black Beauty zucchini in the back garden. And they're also peppos. And I'm not concerned about this because by the time they get to flowering stage, I will have harvested ample of these yellow crooknecks. And once you let your squash start to mature, the flowering shuts off. And then there's also the hand pollination in the early morning and taping off the flower to ensure that nothing else pollinates it. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot for 2 of each family this year. And we've got really good development on these cucumbers. And I also went ahead and did a pot sow of the lemon apples and also the direct sow out back. The strawberry spinach in here took really well. and the perpetual spinach out back did really well. And I got busy with clearing this because these guys, that one's already rooted. They're shooting out their runners. I did a pretty heavy amendment after the first round of berries came in, and now we're into the second flowering and spreading of the strawberry. Alibaba's spreading nice, and here is my makeshift trellis to get that casa banana over to the shed up to the tree. That's going to be fun trying to harvest now that I'm directing them up into the tree. Same thing here. I did a graduate it from low to high, from the casa banana into the ground to try to get that to the pine tree. The winged beans are up. I'm going to give up on burying the potatoes and just let them go. Well, apparently whatever was taking the corn under the ground really didn't like it too much, because no other stalks have disappeared. Slow growth on the Sicilian edible gourd, and still all female production on the Hopi. I ate my first of the kohlrabi yesterday. So here's another one. Casa banana has to get all the way. You know, that's an easy 15, 18 foot span to the tree. So I did that little H right there into a Y, into a really big Y. And I was discovered that I had hijacked somebody's home. We got perfectly round holes, and there were bumblebees living in there. So then we put a board across that. So that should be a nice support for the casa banana. I finally got this bed cleared. And to the rear of the garden, I did a direct sow of the Black Beauty zucchini. And up front here, I did the direct sow of the lemon apple. And I also soaked some dragon tongue beans. Now, I have no idea what this is. I saw the greenery, and I decided, not to treat it as a weed, but to let it go. So I'm not really, into the flowers. But look at this thing. Knowing the names, I should say I love flowers, but, I haven't taken the time to memorize all the names. So anybody knows what this is, I'd appreciate it. I'd really like some more of this. It's very, very beautiful. Nice, soft leaves. Not quite as soft as the lamb's ear, too. So the corn is nice, getting tall. There's another of the kohlrabi that I'm going to get to eat really soon. I set myself up a little leisure area, do a little seed collecting. Got a tray there for a drink or whatever. More flowering on the strawberries here. More Hopies doing well. Okra, a lot of it came up. I have no idea what that is. And crazy growth on the ground cherries. Still lots of thinning to do. Didn't get to do any thinning on the wonderberries. I put the smaller of the golden Marconi bell peppers back here. And this is where I did the direct sow of the dragon tongue beans. I'm probably also gonna sow another batch in a different area. Volunteer sweet potatoes, Alibabas, my tomatillo is a very, very slow grower right now. And I put all ground cherries back in that corner. So I still have that to clear yet. And once this turnip finishes flowering and starts to dry out, I'll clear that so the watermelons have free ranging there. So the seed collection, this is, they were underdeveloped collards. The seed pods are starting to dry out. I'll be collecting those. But I also collected arugula and the turnip, the dinosaur kale, and I was sifting the broccoli rabe. And here we have the cress. So it won't be long, and I'll be able to get that cress seed and get that area cleared out as well. So there it is. I'm going to go back into the woods and find some smaller pieces of downed limbs and try to utilize that for my tomato steaks. All right. Hope you enjoyed the garden update. Hope you're well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.